Trust is proud to sponsor KUAW Radio. At Morrill and Janes Bank and Trust, banking locally ever after is turning your dream into reality. Whether you're looking for your first
live on did they catch the first part or do I need? Okay, so we're gonna do this again. Do my call letters. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? This is Lyne't with the Lyne't Gray Show here on KUAW. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, Kansas City's first global community radio station. Y'all gonna keep seeing me look that way because I'm looking at the screen too. But thank you for joining us this Tuesday, January 11th. I want to shout out my big homie, Samuel Darte. Sammy, happy birthday. It's his birthday actually right now in Ghana on January 12th. Been my bestie since 2018 when we connected. And today he heard something, so he texted me like, hey, but we cleared it up and straightened it out. And that's what friends do, y'all. They don't just get angry. They contact friends and say, hey, this is what I heard, and allow the friend to speak their mind. So happy birthday, Sammy. I wish you abundant blessings, more grace, more prosperity. But you're listening to the Lyne't Gray Show here on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's first global community radio station. Y'all know, I figured out the first. I got it in there. But you can listen to us on Facebook, YouTube, TuneIn, Periscope, and we now have a Twitch account and Instagram. So we're literally whatever. And if you don't have social media, if you're one of those people, and I truly respect people like this, if you're one of those people who don't have social media, you can log on to the KUAW.org website and watch us through the website as well. Remember, we have an ongoing station fundraiser. When I say ongoing, it's never going to end. You go on ahead and donate $5 or $500 a month. It don't matter, because the $500 a month people, hey, tax write off. You can dump the money and write off. But we are doing station upgrades, and it is amazing to see, and I am so grateful. Today, we are discussing something, and I ain't even promoted this show because I don't want Facebook to call themselves trying to put me in Facebook jail. But I've been having this conversation with several people now, and I think the Black Americans, it's time to wake up. We lose our voting rights in 2031. We literally had a Black president. He did not perpetually renew our voting rights. So we lose the amendment, the Voting Rights Act amendment. Former President George W. Bush signed it, I think it was 2006, and he gave us 25 more years to vote. And they stood around clapping for that. I was like, do people not really? It's kind of like the movie Don't Look Up, where it's a whole bunch of messed up stuff going on and people still celebrating. That's what it feels like to me. But he signed in 25 more years, so those 25 more years lands in 2031, and here we are in 2022. That leaves us literally with 9 years left to vote on the Voting Rights Act. Now, I find that kind of odd that right before our voting rights are terminated, we will then have a zero net worth as a people, as Black people, Black Americans. We will have a zero net worth. Now, call me Dave Chappelle without the comedy. Well, you know what I mean by that, conspiracy theorist. But to me, when you get to looking at those two things put together, you have no power economically and you have no voting power. That sets us up for a downfall. I've been looking at some things, and one thing I notice is that the things that the Black Americans are supposed to have, they're moving other Blacks into those positions. And I was just having this talk with my fiance on the phone, and I was explaining to him that Black Americans don't even teach African American history. That should tell y'all something. I've not yet heard of, and if there is one, I need people to please correct me. Put it in the comments. If there is an African American history professor, I need somebody to put it in the comments, because African American history in schools, in regular schools, African American history in colleges is never taught by a Black person. It's not. And to me, when you start moving us out of, hey, Miss Walker, when you, hold on. But when you start moving us out of positions that give us power, you start making sure that, you know, everybody gets the job but us. And here's my thing. It's enough Black people in this world, and it's enough empty jobs in this world, especially. They need Black people to run stuff. Every type of Black person walking we shouldn't have to fight over a job. We shouldn't have to look up and feel like any of us have been slighted. If you coming from Africa and you a computer scientist, you should walk right into one of these computer science positions. If you're coming and you're a engineer, you should have that position. It shouldn't be, because there are so many positions open. But here's the one thing I will say, and y'all know I told y'all 2020 and beyond, I'm blackity black, black, black. So people can be upset and angry if they want to, but we as a people, we have to begin to, and I'm about to say something real controversial. We don't need to unite. We don't. Here's how I'm going to use the airport, the MCI airport that's being built right now. All of the owners of the companies are not united with one another. They work together for a common goal. But what do I mean by work together for a common goal? They know that the end goal is seeing KCI completed. They are given a task to do. They are staying in their lane. They are dealing with what they know how to do. Everybody ain't a revolutionary that's going to be out there protesting up in the cop's face. But then there are people who sit in positions of power that make decisions financially, and they can make those decisions. My grandfather passed on. He was one of those people. His kids was out there, civil rights movement. His children were out there, but he had such an amazing job. He would have messed himself up and the people that he lined up to take his place had he been out there protesting. So what I'm saying is, because someone came in my inbox and this is the narrative that's being fed because of social media, is everybody should take a radical approach. And that's not how it should be. I feel that you should stay in your lane. If you are a prayer warrior, you put prayer over the people who are going out and fighting. If you are military police and you've taken your honorable discharge from the military, start packing these police departments, even in the small towns. Why? Because you're going to walk right into the police department. You have already been trained, and you're trained to a level that a lot of the police officers are not trained because they come from criminal justice backgrounds. If you are a lawyer coming out of college, go on ahead and go to the prosecutor's office. Run for prosecutor even. If you start early enough, you might be able to unseat the prosecutor because that person is controversial. We need to do the blueprint. We need to look at the blueprint that President Barack Obama did. He started 4 years before he was even nominated to run. He started going door to door and meeting and talking to people because he knew that his name was not popular like the other big Democrats. So he was chosen because he made his name known. We have to begin, and I'm just going to keep saying this. We have to begin. I'm doing this now because Martin Luther King Day, is it next week? Martin Luther King Day is next week, I think. Monday. And the dream that man kept going out and ducking bullets and smoking cigarettes because his nerves were so bad. The dream that he dreamt, my generation, the 50 years old and under, dropped the ball. Those who are 55 and over, I would say 60 and over, they did their part. They did their part. They got out here. They made the government respect them to the point that the government put in programs just to calm them down. They was like, hey, get them some jobs. What y'all need? Y'all want houses? Let's get these people paid and get get them busy so that they won't keep. But they did their job, and we got the Voting Rights Act. But now us 60-year-olds and under, and I'm not 60, I'm 46, we have not even began to enforce and make the Voting Rights Act perpetual. And I watched the movie Don't Look Up, excuse me, y'all. I watched the movie Don't Look Up. And the frustration that the scientists saw when everyone knew that they were going to die, and people were still just on social media, just doing what they do, just acting like nothing is going to happen, nobody's going to die. And then when the time comes, everybody wants to start, oh, well, when are they going to shoot the meteor down? When are they? But no. Y'all knew the meteor was coming. You been knowing it was coming. You aborted mission on everything to stop the destruction. And that's what's going on with us in our community. Everybody can't hop a plane back to Africa. I can't afford a plane to Samoa. That's where literally they'll recognize my name when I walk in there, on the western part of Samoa. And I can't afford a plane over there. So we are here. And like I tell a lot of black people who choose to say, oh, well, I'm leaving America. That to me is a slap in the face of our ancestors and our elders who gave this country their blood, sweat, and tears, who had to endure discrimination in the highest levels, who made it, who showed us how to do it. And then we gonna say, and then not we, y'all gonna say, I'm leaving, I don't belong here. Really? So you telling me you don't have no fight in you to make your life better? You telling me you don't know enough military people? I promise y'all this, there are enough young black men and women who take honorable discharges from the military as MPs on all branches to flood every single law enforcement department in the United States of America. Now, yes, you are going to endure. Imagine the black police officers before the 1980s. Imagine what they went through on the job. Just imagine. But they did it anyway. And a lot of the times, I want to shout out DeJuan Littlejohn, because he's not one of those police officers that's just gung-ho and he ain't trying to chase you. He ain't trying to fight you. I've watched him just talk. And when he didn't even know I was watching him talk to somebody, and it calmed the person, and you can put him in the car. Why? Because he's not being arrested, but he grew up around these people. He grew up around us. That's what we need. We don't need any more Chucks and Pearls who claims black until it comes time to write laws and represent our people. And then all of a sudden, you're absent. You have the second highest position in the country, and you're doing nothing with it. We don't need people who say that they're, and I'm going to use the term Native Black American. I like that term, Native Black American. And the reason being is the Native Black Americans are the ones who like Baba Maurice Copeland said, our families have been on this land longer than anyone else. Because you have to remember, Native Black Americans are also Native Americans. They took the dark skin American Indians or Native Americans and threw them in slavery. They enslaved them, the dark-skinned ones. They would just take them and put them into slavery. They couldn't get their skin whiter. They couldn't ethnic cleanse the darkness out of them, so they enslaved the dark ones. It's time that we wake up. It's time that we begin. Are our phone lines hooked up, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, we think.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. 816-599-6893 if you want to call in. The number's scrolling across my head so you can see it right there. But it's going to come back through. But 816-599-6893. And my thing is, I don't want people getting caught up in the revolutionary talk. I've had people literally within the last couple of weeks talk about doing harm to those who are oppressing us. But here's the problem. You're not looking at how many people are actually oppressing us. You're only seeing the white skin. You're not seeing the Eurasians and the South Americans. You're not, and when I say Eurasia, it was never not declared Eurasia. They just separated the name and made it Europe and Asia like they do everything else. But Eurasia used to be all of Europe and all of Asia was one people. Russia is Asian. A lot of people think Russia is European. No, they're Asian. They're considered Asia. So when you understand what you're up against, should you start talking about, and listen, I'm the most you ever want to meet, but I will never, ever send my people into a kamikaze mission. I wouldn't, because we're here, we're landlocked, we don't have help, we don't own weapons at the rate that everybody else owns weapons at. And we're landlocked. So it can be an absolute massacre. And you don't want to do that. So how do you begin to start changing things? I'm about to give everybody a moment. What did China do? China's military is strong enough and huge enough, like literally big enough, to overtake any country that it chooses to. But what did China do? China decided to overtake every country, to dominate every country, to colonize every country via finances. Who owns the banks? Who owns the land? What do we have that we can say, here's our power, give us what we want? Remember, our actual net worth will be zero as a people, as a community. Our net worth will be zero in 2030, in 8 years. It will be zero. So now what do? Because it's saying that we all know we don't have the weaponry. You're going to have to leave that alone. So now you begin to learn the laws. You begin to do things like get some of our people who have nothing to do to go sit in legislative sessions. Those who live in the cities where the actual capitals are, the House and the Senates for each state. You find people who don't mind going to go sit in legislative sessions. You ahead of time research every politician or person who's showing any kind of interest in running. Get to know those people, because what happens is when you get to know those people, you then can research them long before you vote them in. See, we are a reactive people and we have to start being proactive. That's the thing about it. When we start becoming proactive instead of reactive, things will change. You see how many people got registered to vote. And when President Obama was voted in that first time, it was by a landslide. I stood in line with people who told me they had never, ever voted in life. I stood in line with elderly people who was like, oh, I was in the joint and got out the joint 30 years ago and I still ain't never voted. And check your laws. In most states, if you have completed your sentence, if you went what they call 12-12, which means you did all of your time in prison, or you've completed your probation or parole, check your laws. But in most states, you are then approved to vote. I need us as a people to own our own minds. We cannot keep saying what someone is not going to give us. That's not okay anymore. That's not okay anymore. How are we going to go? Nobody gave China anything. China set themselves up to where China made sure that it might have taken 30 years. And Andrew Boykin, he has a program called Rest in 2050. Amazing program. I have to find that video. And I want y'all to watch that, because he came up with a whole actual solution to our issues. And it's called Rest in 2050. I think it's Rest in 2050. Is it .org? I'm not sure, but I have to look it up. But it's time for us. And y'all gonna hear me standing on my, I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio in Don't Look Up. I was watching that movie. I was like, oh my gosh, that is me. I'm always trying to awaken people, but nobody's listening. Everybody wants to do their own thing. And then when it begins to start falling apart, everybody is going to want to start fixing stuff then. Fix it now, y'all. Let's fix it now. We have young people. We know we're locked out of Silicon Valley. Okay, we're locked out of Silicon Valley. Well, let's take over our own social media and online presence. Let's begin to take over the images that are put out. If you go to Africa right now, what plays on their TV is shows with black people in court, shows with black people getting DNA tests, the movies where black people are shooting and acting a fool. All kinds of foolishness is being played. If you go watch, people say, what do they watch over in Africa? Well, you can kind of almost understand their view of us when you go watch their TV. You're like, this is what they see about us? No wonder they think we a certain way. Because those who control the media send out what they want to be known about us. I have an amazing friend And I tell people, besides my fiance, he's the only man that can be like, what you doing? He's the only man that can send me a WYD text. But he said something. He said when he came to the U.S., he got to the U.S. on a diversity visa, so he didn't know anybody, none of that. And he came to the U.S. and he wound up rooming with other Africans. And he said that they would call back to their families and say such horrible things about us, all the while about African American women, just talk about black women horribly. That's what the family in Africa is hearing from their family member who lives here. He said all the while they are getting help from, he said the black women, he said the African American women was like, what do you need? You need money, you need bus fare, you need somebody to take you back and forth to work, you need some food, let me show you how to go get this. He said the women, the black women, he said everybody else left him up to his own devices. And I've heard this more than once. But the black women stepped in, and he said, you know, he wouldn't have been able to figure nothing out if it wasn't for the black women. And he told his roommates, y'all getting help from black women, but y'all dogging these black women out like this. And he said one of them would call back home to his wife and talk about a black woman like a dog, but he had a girlfriend here who was a black woman who helped him get everything going. And the girlfriend was at his house every day. But when she left, he would call back home to his wife and talk about her talk about black women horribly. We have to begin to take our own narrative. And I appreciate everybody from the motherland of Africa who says, we ain't gonna do that division stuff. No, y'all are us and we are y'all. I appreciate that. I really do. But we as Black Americans have to begin to accept our identity as Black Americans. Some people have Negro on their birth certificate. Some people have colored. Some people have African American. We have to begin to accept that we are a beautiful people. As Prince said, we are a blessed people. Look what we came through and thrived. And then we made people respect us. When we're given the least, we still come out on top. They can undereducate us in school and give every other race and nationality of people the advantage starting in school. And we still find a way to come out number one. It's time that we are proud of who we are. I love the fact that my mom used to, we listened to James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. My mom's big brother was a Panther. So, you know, we were black. We were blackety black, even though we probably were some of the more fair-skinned people with the non-kinky texture hair. But we love our blackness. And the one thing that I wish that we would do as a people is start to appreciate our elders. When you look at the sacrifice, you can go anywhere in the world, and the way that our elders fought for us to be able to sit and do what we do, to be able to stand toe-to-toe with a non-black person, because it's not just white folks. Y'all got to stop that. Open up your eyes and see the big picture. But we can stand toe-to-toe with a non-black person and demand our respect and say, oh, you want to treat me like this? Well, I sure know EEOC ain't going to like it when I'm done. And get everybody in line. That's some powerful stuff, y'all. I just want to honor the people who came before us. And black parents are quick to get angry at our children when our children don't become what we saw for them in their lives. We might not have raised them to do it, but we envisioned that they would live a certain way. And our elders and our ancestors still ain't mad at us, even though we ain't done what we supposed to do. They put in all this work. Why they got to keep putting in the work? I'm 46 years old. And we have not made the Voting Rights Act amendment perpetual. But we all can stand and go to these rallies, and we can listen to these speakers be great orators. Somebody can preach us into a frenzy, and we still gonna go home and not do nothing. It's as simple as sending an email or calling and leaving a voicemail to your U.S. Senator and your U.S. Congressman and saying, hey, y'all need to look at this Voting Rights Act amendment. Why ain't y'all done something about it? It's that simple. You ain't got to go out here and make a bunch of noise, act a fool, and storm the Capitol. You ain't got to do all that. Send letters, send emails. The most beautiful thing I got, and I'm holding on to it, and I meant to bring it so I can call out the lady's name. There's a lady who's a Jehovah's Witness, and you could tell she's an elderly woman by her print. It's absolutely beautiful. It looks like the print that was taught to the people in the 40s, 50s, and 60s and 70s. And she's a Jehovah's Witness, and she can't get out anymore. So she sent me a handwritten letter on notebook paper, and it was short and sweet and concise. 1 page, the front, with a pamphlet. But she was I knew exactly what the letter was about, and it was very to the point and matter of fact. You don't have to send a super long email. All you got to do, we email and send messages, and everybody want to do stuff on Twitter. There's an official way you have to do things. You have to email, call, or fax. Why have we not locked up Capitol Hill's emails, calls, and fax saying Voting Rights Amendment perpetual? Make the Voting Rights Amendment perpetual. Make the vote. That's all you got to say. And literally, when you send the email, if you don't want to type a whole bunch of stuff, copy and paste your subject and put it in the body. And then put the actual 2006 amendment, what do you call that? Statute number or whatever. Put that in there. And just simply say, make the Voting Rights Amendment perpetual. We are so busy. When I look at a lot of Black people's Facebook pages, we're so busy trying to climb to the top and be seen. Or we're so busy trying to preach and teach. We have literally lulled ourselves in a position that, and I was talking to my fiance today, and I was like, man, 2031, we ain't got no economic power. All they got to do is throw us back in slavery. He said they can't do that. I said, yes, they can. How come they can't? If we lose voting power, who gonna vote? If you are not allowed to vote, how are they gonna stop you from, who's gonna stop them from signing the law saying we have to be put back even in chattel slavery? I want y'all to pay close attention to our young people. Our young people don't own their own minds, and they follow trends. Why are they doing this to our young people? Because the kidnapped and terrorized hostages that are our ancestors, their minds were too strong. They didn't go along. The women went toe to toe with the masses. The men went toe to toe. They ran away. They did what they had to do. There were some who were terrified of leaving, but many others thought about freedom. Now, if they control the minds of the youth, when you're mindless, you're a robot. Program them and tell them what to do. Those who are not strong enough to do it, we ain't worried about them. They'll commit suicide anyway. That's what they're thinking. So we have to, as a people, begin to now start saying, like I said, fax machines, email. You can go to factzero.com. It's online. Type up, make the Voting Rights Act amendment perpetual. If you don't want to write a big old thing, dear sir or madam, a congressman or senator, and you just put it in the body, just plain and simple, make the Voting Rights Act perpetual, because they know what that means. Voting Rights Act Amendment perpetual. They know what that means. President George W. Bush in 2006 gave us 25 more years to vote, and then was like, yeah. I gave the African Americans 25 more years to vote. And I literally took my remote and heaved it at my ex-husband's big old 70-something screen TV. And I'm like, who thinks this is okay? I'm trying to figure out who thinks this is okay to have 25 more years to vote. Because I think at that point in time, like, I was literally, I want to say 31 or something like that. So I was still really young. And I'm losing it at this point. I'm like, y'all really think this is okay? Y'all really think it's okay that we have 25? And it was black people standing back there like, mind controlled. I don't know what they have planned, but right now we should be discussing what happens with this Voting Rights Act amendment, because it's no secret that economic power is the power. Jeff Bezos, he don't ever have to vote. Bill Gates never has to vote. The Koch brothers. I always say Coach, and I drove for them, and it's called Koch, K-O-C-H. They never have to vote. They're the ones who created corporate personhood. The Koch brothers did. They created corporate personhood, where you take a corporation like Walmart and they have an equal vote and a greater say than a person, because our government looks at them as a person, not a business. But these people have proven that you can just simply put your money where your ideals are and where your passion is and where your desires are. I want everyone, even overseas though. I don't know if they posted overseas or not in other countries where there are black people. Look up the net worth. Look up the financial statement that your representatives, your federal representatives, submitted when they first got into office. Everyone has to submit a financial statement or taxes. Everyone. No one's exempt. Look up when they first came in and look at those taxes. And then look up what they're worth now. It's called super PACs. And I've said it once before, the way for black people to take our power, number one, you have to, I can't say it on KUAW the way I want to say it. So I'm going to say this. You have to form super PACs that invest in the interests of the politicians. Y'all catch my drift? So when you form super PACs that invest in the interests of the politicians, what you want to get done gets done, because they want that financial donation or gift to their interests. That's how things get done. That's what lobbyists do. And you hire the best lobbyists. You don't take Kenny, who's fresh out of law school, who has no reach, who knows nobody. You have Kenny, who's fresh out of law school, go shadow the super lobbyist. You have him go with that lobbyist, shake hands, meet Kenny. This is it. I'm training him. He might be my protege one day. You have Kenny go shadow the super lobbyist. And you begin to start making sure that your best interest is taken care of legally. See, like I said, China ain't became the world superpower, and I'm going to let y'all know that they literally are the world superpower, because the instant they pull off from under the US dollar, we nothing. China owns so many farms and what do you call that? Mines, and they own so much stuff, not just here but in Africa. But they did not even, they did what I'm old school, y'all. Well, I'm not that old, but I was a little kid. I've been watching the news probably since I was 2. I've been news like an old lady. But they said the name Yasser Arafat, and was it Benjamin Netanyahu? I don't know. I don't remember his name. But it was the Palestinian conflict over the Gaza Strip. And I remember being like 12 or 13, and I woke up to this thing called World News Tonight, and everybody was freaking out because Yasser Arafat took over a part of the Gaza Strip without war. And they began all over the world to break down who Yasser Arafat was. And one of the things I remember them saying about his name, they said, well, it was meant for him to do this because his name means a bow with no arrow, or arrow with no bow. No, I think it meant a bow with no arrow. They said Arafat means a bow with no arrow. So I watched what he did, and I began to be intrigued by that man because he did something that they was bombing and killing, and how did you accomplish that? How is China getting ready to colonize the 4 corners of the world? They take their little drones. They got their drones all up in Africa. They got their drones all up in America. They own they own the manufacturing. They own the economy of the world. And I told people when we began to start shipping jobs over to China, when I was a child, I remember asking my mom's then boyfriend, I said, but if we give China our jobs and all our jobs and stuff go over there and everything's made over there, won't they be more powerful than us? I was a kid and asked that question. But we began to celebrate greed or capitalism. And the capitalists put us in a position to mess us all up. And what happened due to capitalism? Black people are pushed all the way down to the bottom, the very bottom. We have no voice. Nobody. We are still yelling, stop killing our people. How long ago was the Trayvon Martin case? And they done killed how many young black men for no reason since then? Yes, the cases, we are just now getting guilty verdicts in these cases. But here's the thing y'all need to understand. There's always a thing called an appeal. And so anything can happen in the appeal. And we're going to keep the faith that these appeals for these guilty verdicts are going to remain. They're going to just be like, nah, the sentence stands. But there's always an appeal. But why are people so bold in this day and age to see black skin and decide that they want to kill it? I was on the phone with a coworker, and he was in a very well-known wholesale store. And the manager and one of the cashiers blatantly discriminated against his locks, what people call dreads, and his dark skin and his thick chains. And he was more calm than I am talking to y'all right now. His voice was in a very monotonous tone. He wasn't getting loud. And the woman, while he's talking to the manager, says, well, I'll just go ahead and call the police. So you threatening this man's life because you're going to call Kansas City police on this man? And he's standing there with dreads, long dreads, dark skin. He's got his expensive clothes on. This man makes money, so he can dress and wear what he want to wear. But most other people would look at him and assume drug dealer, and he's not. He's not. But I sat there and listened. I was going to hang up the phone when he started talking to the supervisor. And my spirit would not let me hang up the phone, because I then began to, when the people were starting to try to get him riled up, and his voice came up out of his monotonous tone, and I started calling his name and telling him, no, just stay calm. Just stay calm. Don't get upset. And I listened to a man who was the manager support his cashier being racist, and then turn around and he spent another 5 to 7 minutes chastising my coworker after my coworker said, look, I have things I have to do. We done wasted enough time here. You done gave me the information I need. I just need to buy my stuff and go. She took all of my things to the back and said I could not buy my things unless I was talking to a manager. So now I'm talking to a manager. I just need to buy my things and go. Why are we in a position now to where people can still treat us and do us like this? Because we've been asleep at the wheel. I'm going to keep saying this, and I know that. So here's because we're at 8:51. So people say, Lyne't, short and sweet. What do we need to do as a people in order to begin to get where we need to be, what we need to have? What do we need to do to catapult ourselves to where our elders had us when they signed the Voting Rights Act years ago? What do we need to do? Number one, form a super PAC for every interest for us. If we have a media interest, form a super PAC for it, because they make laws about media in the government. If we have a port entrance, form a super PAC about it. If we have a transportation interest, form a super PAC. Look at all of the super PACs. Look up super PACs, United States super PACs, legislation, voting super PACs, equal rights. Here's another thing that our government does. We have what they call the Minority Disadvantaged Women Business Enterprise. The MWDBE, Minority Business Enterprise, was started to make sure that black people got a fair share in government contracts. They added disadvantage to make sure that non-blacks, non-women, non-minorities get included. So now white men whose businesses are not considered a small business, and I think they said Walmart is considered a small business. So I know Home Depot is. So you can make millions of dollars and still get a government contract. The minorities are not the black people who are getting the contracts. They're everybody else. The women, they're not black women. We're still getting locked out. So that's where we need to, number one, if you ain't going to give no money to a super PAC, email, fax, and phone call, and those who are in the vicinity make appointments to meet with your U.S. House representatives and your U.S. senators. Bombard them. We on social media enough. We need to bombard them. Then we need to form super PACs. Then we need to put the right lobbyists in place for the super PACs. But we also need to know all of our candidates and elected officials, and we need to know their records. So how do you do that? You then ask people who live where your capital is to go in and sit in on the sessions and read the laws and read the books. Read what's being proposed. Read what's tabled. Read what's coming up to committee. Read what's possibly being passed. We have to begin to be proactive, because this reactive stuff, y'all, a whole bunch of y'all gonna wind up in chains, because I ain't gonna be here. And stop letting them prep and groom our children to be controlled. The one thing I'm going to keep saying, and this is my message for 2022, is silent mind meditation. Block out the noise. Own your own mind. This is the Lyne't Gray Show. And I did this show ahead of Martin Luther King Day because there's no better time than now to talk about how his dream has been destroyed by us. Nobody else destroyed his dream but us as a people. So I will see you all next week with Blissful Soul Kitchen. She is a plant-based food company here in Kansas City. She makes this burger called a walnut burger. I promise y'all won't know it's not me. So we will see y'all next week with Blissful Soul Kitchen. And I told her just prepare one thing and bring it in. She's like, what else should I bring? Just bring one thing. You ain't got to do all that cooking. So hopefully y'all will tune in. I want to say thank you to Charles Nzali, 8+1, the classroom. He interviewed me Monday, I think. Y'all, my week is just like, I don't know when. Thursday, I think. I'm not sure. Y'all, everything, I got a lot going on. So my brain is just like, I need to shut it down. But he interviewed me and he got to hear a side of me and tap into a side of me that most people don't know, which is my entrepreneurial side. And so it was an amazing interview. He is an amazing podcast. 8+1, the classroom. Charles Nzali, Nzally. So y'all go to YouTube and subscribe. Also, everyone, please go to YouTube because sometimes Facebook acts up with our shows. And everybody's watching on Facebook. So I'm going to ask all of my viewers, and if you're not my viewer, whatever, if you just tuning in right now, go to Facebook and is it KUAW-radio on Facebook as well? Yes. I mean on YouTube?
No, KUAW Space Radio. Just
KUAW. Okay, so it's just KUAW Radio. Right. KUAW Space Radio. So you don't have to do nothing special because it's YouTube. Go to the channel and subscribe, share, comment, all of that. On all of the shows, we need to build up our YouTube views just in case Facebook, just in case, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But y'all don't have to miss a show if you go over to YouTube. I wish everybody joy, love, peace, happiness. Oh, it was Monday. Okay, it was Monday. Charles said it was Monday. We had Tuesday. I feel like I'm on Friday already, y'all. I don't know what's going on with me, but I feel like I'm on Friday. But I want to wish everybody joy, love, peace, happiness, health, wealth, well-being, total enlightenment, prosperity, success, affluence, abundance, and a whole lot of money if you want it. Remember, 2022 is your year if you act. Take care.